But I just think that the world would be better off. I think that everybody would be better off if 99% of white people would just stop talking about politics, particularly foreign policy as it pertains to Israel, Palestine. And when I say 99%, I mean probably like 99.9%, with the 0.01% remaining being us, right, Gavin? That's a hot take to introduce to the internet, one that takes a particularly dense mindset, but one that could only be brought forth by the omniliberal themselves, Destiny. The discourse around Israel Palestine would improve so much if like 99% of this is a man from Omaha, Nebraska. I want you guys to know, like, let's just like not play games right now. This dude is from
in
Omaha.
case anyone in chat thought Destiny was like a black dude or something. He's not.
Don't be deceived by his name, the omniliberal. You know, if anything, that's a name that screams diversity. The discourse around Israel Palestine would improve so much if like 99% of white people in the West would just not talk about it. And that's a quote tweet of something that Emma Vigeland said that was actually based as fuck. And by the way, everybody, in case anybody's curious, any longtime listeners of the Vanguard will know that we came down hard on Emma Vigeland during the Force the Vote era, but we've squashed the beef. Woo! Actually, during sports season, we may do a sports guard crossover with her, but she comes out spitting right here and says two-state solution equals apartheid. What does she mean by that, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's referencing the Israel-Palestine situation, not just like any two countries situated next to each other ever, which is what a bunch of bad faith morons on Twitter tried to pretend. I'll try to find a couple examples here. Yeah, two-state equals two different nations, sweetheart, super condescending. But yeah, obviously she's not just talking about like, America and Mexico or India and Pakistan. Like a lot of people just gaslight.
Although India and Pakistan were literally one country that was broken up for geopolitical
Okay, that actually
issues.
could be a potentially.
I'm not an expert on that, but what I have read about that had a lot to do with the fucking
that's true.
United
And I know
States and
there's
British
the whole
foreign policy
Kashmir situation where they both won it. But yeah, a lot of people were basically just saying like, oh, so you think, Canada and America is an apartheid then, as if like any two sovereign states situated next to each other equates to or equals apartheid. Obviously, that's not what Emma Vigeland's saying. She's saying a two-state solution in the context of Israel and Palestine would result in continued apartheid. Obviously, it already is an apartheid. She's saying if instead of integrating the two into one equal society, if we keep dividing things up, then yeah, the apartheid will continue. And I think that's obvious.
100%. Here's the reality. They've essentially created a two-state solution already. They've forced tremendous amounts, half of the Palestinian population. I believe I looked it up today just so I had the numbers to be familiar with. I think it's like something like 2.3 million individuals live in the Gaza Strip. And then you have maybe 2.7 million people that are Palestinian that live in the West Bank, right? So we're dealing, let's say 5.5 million people. And then I know there are more than that, but let's, you have them all isolated to specific areas, right? You have roads that you can't walk down. We've all uncovered this since 10/7. Everybody's, been forced to either come to terms with and change their position when they realize, holy shit, this is a modern day apartheid system, or move on. So they've basically imposed a two-state system now, a two-state solution. And one of the things that Noam Chomsky always spoke so well about was how a two-state solution would just be an imposing a domination over the Palestinian community. They would never have access to any of the ideal resources. They would be intentionally starved. They would be marginalized. Israel would cut them off. They'd be subject to constant sanction. They would never be able to, govern independently because Israel would interpret every move and action of the Palestinian government to be the act of a terror organization and therefore a threat to Israel. Do you see how that sounds exactly like fucking the last, 60, 70 years where there would be constant war, occupation, dispute over territory, right? And what Emma is clearly making the case for is something that all leftists should be making the case for, and that is the case for a democratic society, right? what did we do in America, Gavin, after the Civil War? Did we just say, fine, fuck it, we won, but now we're going to subjugate you forever and say, you know what, you can't, have a society here anymore? No. Did we say, okay, let's put all of the fucking African Americans who have lived, built, made homes here back on a boat and ship them back to Africa? No, we didn't do that, because that would have been even crueler and even more horrible than what we'd already done. We decided to do what any sensible fucking person would do, and that was to live in harmony as best as we fucking could. And while America has made horrible mistakes, right, and we've talked about it ad nauseum throughout this country, nobody would ever suggest that you shouldn't have just created a democratic and free society with everybody here. As free as it is, I know I was just bitching about that, right? But you don't need to create a racially segregated society or an ethnically segregated society or a religiously segregated society. Like, you don't need to create an ethno state. That's something that I thought we all fucking agreed was going to be left behind in the 20th century. Apparently not. And the fucking coping and seething from everybody just shows that they understand that, like, their position is inherently pro ethno state. It's inherently pro segregation. It's inherently pro apartheid. And the reason that they won't do a fucking democratic state system, a fucking unified Israel, or whatever you want to call it, free Palestine, the United Nation of Palestine, whatever the fuck they come up, the people could decide. That's not for me to say. A free democratic society there, they won't do it because there would be more Muslims than Jewish people there, for one. And if you look at why we've made some places in American history states, I try and always draw all of the, when we call out Israel for shit, a lot of people like to just throw fucking, shit at Israel, which they deserve, obviously, but they don't want to do the hard work and the introspection compared to what our country's already done, right? Why is Hawaii a state and not Puerto Rico, Gavin? Because a lot of white people moved there, and we knew that we could control the ballot box there. We knew that we could buy up the property. We could move a fuckload of retirees there who were going to vote conservative, and we were going to make it part of our fucking country, and we had officially conquered it. We'd integrated it into our society, right? Puerto Rico, we never got there. They speak Spanish. Can't get white people to move somewhere where they speak Spanish, not Americans, right? Why did we not turn the Philippines into a state after World War II? Because we sacrificed it to fucking Japan and let 1 million people get massacred in Manila, and then we said, okay, guys, fine, have your fucking freedom, right? So the United States created this model for other. We didn't create it, but we fucking polished it off for sure and allowed other people to fulfill that. Right. So that's exactly what Israel's trying to do right now. They don't want to have a free democratic society that incorporates all of, the greater Palestine, because that would just royally fuck up them rigging the deck. Just like America wouldn't make Puerto Rico a state because we know that there's not enough white people that would vote the way that the United States Congress wants them to.
Let's check out this aforementioned response from Destiny that we already kind of mocked a little bit. He says the discourse around Israel-Palestine would improve so much if like 99% of white people in the West would just not talk about it, which again is a ridiculous thing to say to this innocuous and obviously accurate statement that if a two-state solution is pursued, that will very likely result in the continual apartheid state and the subjugation of Palestinians. This is obvious. It's not really all that controversial of an opinion. Like, you can disagree with her opinion. I'm actually about to queue up the clip of Jamal Bowman on Stephen Colbert from the other night, where he actually says he's in favor of a two-state solution, right? So I don't think that I don't think Jamal Bowman is an apartheid lover, right? I don't think he's out here just I really do think that, Palestinians should probably continue to be second-class citizens. I do think there's a fair debate you can have about this. But to label, Emma's tweet as some radical, insane opinion that's outside of the bounds of reality or something, no, this is a very common thing you'll hear from people in this debate.
Yeah. And, obviously I don't think that Jamal Bowman is pro apartheid state. But my first question for Jamal Bowman after he says that he's pro a two-state solution is, in what fucking universe the United States and Israel is going to allow a free Palestine to govern and dictate itself right next fucking door and defend itself right next fucking door? Because it's in no universe that is in any realm of possibility. And that's why people demand a two-state solution, because even if it's not direct apartheid, it will be direct subjugation. It's just going to fucking happen. And to put it crudely, like I think religion will always play a big role in that, because you have to give everybody equal access to the religious holy sites, or it's always going to cause friction, and it'll always be used to, draw a wedge, right? That's why I think the only solution is democratic. But I agree. I mean, not everybody who disagrees with the two-state solution, or sorry, not everybody who agrees with a two-state solution
is like a Zionist.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.